In the vast, indifferent silence of the cosmos, where the boundaries of human morality dissolve into the vacuum, Ridley Scott's 1979 opus Alien does not merely exist as a science fiction film. It stands as a monument to the primordial fear of the unknown. It is a haunted house story projected onto the canvas of deep space, a gothic nightmare where the castle is a commercial towing vehicle and the ghost is a biomechanical atrocity that defies Darwinian classification. To understand Alien is to understand that it is not a film about war or conquest, but a film about survival, violation, and the terrifying reality that in space, humanity is not the apex predator. The film opens not with a bang, but with a slow, suffocating creeping dread. The title sequence alone serves as a warning, with the letters of the word alien disjointed and floating in the void, slowly assembling themselves. This fragmentation sets the tone for what is to come, the breaking apart of cohesion, of bodies, and of sanity. Jerry Goldsmith's score is sparse and unsettling, emphasizing the loneliness of the setting. We are introduced to the USCSS Nostromo, a massive, hulking refinery towing 20 million tons of mineral ore. This is not the pristine, white-walled utopian vessel of Star Trek or the mystical heroism of Star Wars. The Nostromo is an industrial cathedral, a dark, dripping, clanking labyrinth of steam and oil. It feels lived in, dirty, and oppressively functional. It is a place of work, not exploration. This blue-collar aesthetic is one of the film's most revolutionary strokes. The crew members, Dallas, Ripley, Lambert, Brett, Parker, Ash, and Kane, are not intrepid explorers or scientists on a noble quest. They are space truckers. They are tired, underpaid, and irritable. They argue about bonus shares and union contracts while sipping instant coffee in a sterile mess hall. This mundane reality grounds the horror that follows. We believe in these people because they are banal. When they are awakened from cryosleep by the ship's computer, Mother, it is not for a grand discovery, but for a contractual obligation to investigate a distress signal. The reluctance of the crew, particularly Parker and Brett, highlights the utter lack of romance in their voyage. They are simply grist for the corporate mill, a theme that becomes arguably the film's darkest subtext. The descent onto the planetoid LV-426 marks the transition from industrial sci-fi to Lovecraftian horror. The visual language shifts dramatically here, thanks to the twisted genius of Swiss surrealist H.R. Giger. The source of the distress signal is a derelict spacecraft of unknown origin, a horseshoe-shaped structure that looks less like a machine and more like a rotting bone. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with a sense of ancient, fossilized death. The discovery of the space jockey, the giant, petrified pilot fused to his chair, suggests a history and a universe far older and stranger than humanity can comprehend. It is a scene of magnificent grotesquerie, implying that whatever killed this giant is still waiting. The set design here is organic, ribbed, and sexual, blurring the lines between biology and architecture. The inciting incident of the horror is the violation of Kane. When he descends into the egg chamber, covered in a layer of blue mist that reacts like a laser tripwire, he is not attacked by a beast with claws, but by a parasite. The facehugger is a marvel of repulsive design, resembling a pale, fleshy hand with a tail. Its method of attack is violently intimate. It penetrates the helmet, forces itself down the victim's throat, and induces a coma. This is the first layer of the film's deeply Freudian sexual terror. Alien is a movie obsessed with reproduction, birth, and penetration. The facehugger forces life into the male body, subverting the natural order and turning the man into a vessel. The horror is not just about death, it is about the loss of bodily autonomy. Once Kane is brought back on board, a decision made by the science officer Ash, which directly overrides Ripley's strict adherence to quarantine protocols, the film enters its second, claustrophobic phase. The tension builds through silence. The facehugger dies and falls off, leaving Kane seemingly recovered. The famous dinner scene is a masterclass in pacing and shock. The crew is eating, laughing, and relaxing for the first time, lulling the audience into a false sense of security. Then, the seizure begins. The sudden violence of the chestburster tearing its way through Kane's ribcage is one of the most visceral moments in cinema history. It is a perversion of birth, a bloody, screaming arrival that leaves the mother dead on the table. The creature that scuttles away is phallic, toothy, and terrifyingly quick. The crew is paralyzed not just by fear, but by the sheer incomprehensibility of what they have just witnessed. From this point, the film becomes a slasher movie where the killer is barely seen. The brilliance of Ridley Scott's direction lies in his restraint. We rarely see the full creature until the end. Instead, we see shadows, glimpses of a tail, the gleam of slime on metallic teeth. The alien, or the xenomorph, is the ultimate antagonist because it has no personality. It cannot be reasoned with, bargained with, or intimidated. As Ash later describes it with chilling admiration, it is a perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility. It is unencumbered by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. It is pure Darwinism. It exists only to survive and reproduce, and the crew of the Nostromo are merely resources to be consumed or eliminated. The visual design of the adult xenomorph is a triumph of biomechanical aesthetics. It has no eyes, which makes it even more frightening. We cannot tell where it is looking, or if it sees, in a way we understand. It is a sleek, black nightmare of exoskeleton and pipes, blending perfectly into the shadowed machinery of the ship. It hides in the air ducts, in the chains, in the dark corners. The ship itself turns against the crew, becoming a trap. The hunt for the creature leads to the deaths of Brett and Dallas, scenes that play on the fear of being watched from the darkness. Brett's death, as he searches for the ship's cat, Jones, is slow and hypnotic, emphasizing the creature's towering size and grace. Dallas's death in the ventilation shafts is a frantic, panic-inducing sequence where the motion tracker's beeping serves as a countdown to doom. However, the alien is not the only monster on board. The revelation that Ash is an android, placed on the ship by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation specifically to ensure the retrieval of the organism, shifts the film's thematic weight. The crew is expendable. This betrayal creates a dual horror, the biological terror of the alien and the cold, calculating terror of corporate greed. Ash is a mirror to the alien. Both are devoid of human empathy. Both are single-minded in their objectives. The scene where Ash attempts to kill Ripley by forcing a rolled-up magazine down her throat is a bizarre, psychosexual mimicry of the facehugger's method of impregnation. When Ash is finally dismantled, his blood is white milky fluid, a stark contrast to the red human blood and the acidic yellow blood of the alien. His decapitated head, still speaking, delivers the film's bleakest line. "I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies." This leaves Ellen Ripley as the sole survivor, the final girl, who redefined the archetype. Sigourney Weaver's performance is legendary not because she plays an action hero, but because she plays a competent, terrified, and rational human being. Throughout the film, Ripley is the voice of reason, constantly overruled by male authority figures who underestimate the threat. Her survival is not a result of superhuman strength, but of intelligence and an unyielding will to live. In the final act, as she sets the self-destruct sequence for the Nostromo, the film reaches a fever pitch of sensory overload. Sirens blare, steam erupts from pipes, and strobe lights flash, turning the ship into a disorienting hellscape. The climax is a masterstroke of false endings. Ripley escapes on the shuttle Narcissus, watching the Nostromo detonate in a nuclear fireball. The audience exhales, believing the terror is over. But the alien is sleeping in the shuttle's wall, camouflaged among the machinery. The final confrontation is quiet, intimate, and incredibly tense. Stripped down to her underwear, a choice that highlights her vulnerability and humanity against the creature's armored carapace, Ripley must perform one last act of ingenuity. She slowly enters a spacesuit, singing, "You Are My Sunshine," to keep herself calm, before blowing the creature out of the airlock. It is a triumph of the human spirit over the void. Alien concludes as it began, in silence. Ripley enters hypersleep, recording a final log entry. She is adrift, a survivor of a trauma that no one back on Earth will truly understand. The film leaves us with a sense of profound isolation. We have witnessed a collision between the fragility of human life and the ancient, uncaring brutality of the universe. Ridley Scott created a film that feels like a transmission from a nightmare, a story that suggests that if we look too deep into the darkness of space, we might find something looking back, something that sees us not as explorers, but as hosts. It is a perfect film, structurally flawless, visually timeless, and eternally terrifying.